Hey, so I want to wrap up our semiconductor uh, section of stocks that we've been following. So we have Intel and AEHR. We're just going to call them AIR going forward. So both of these down here at the bottom, uh, we're going to start with Intel and then wrap up with AIR. So just to look at Intel to start, last time we looked at this was on April 22nd, so a little less than 2 months ago. Uh, and again, we're just going to look at technicals. So just keep that in mind as we're going forward. Also, if you have any questions or want to add any insights from your end, by all means, let me know in the comments. But yeah, Intel back on April 22nd, they were trading at $30 a share. We had buy points noted at 25 and 30. So I'm sure I picked up a handful of these based on the price. We also noted resistance at 54. And our notes that we left was that their financials were coming out at the end of April. Didn't take a look at those yet. When we circle back, I plan to. We also noted that it was consolidating between $25 and $30. So let's take a look at their technical chart and see what's been happening since last time we looked. So if we zoom in to find April 22nd, that would have been this bar down here, and that's $30. Since then, kind of traded flat for about a month, and then more recently, it's picked up the pace a little bit, reached up to $33. So not crazy, nothing crazy. We did um, pass what we thought was at least a short-term resistance point of $30. So ultimately, we did have resistance at 54, which is that red line up here. Just kind of zooming back out a little bit, we could make the case that that $30 range was kind of resistance. So I think what I'm going to do is add that for now into the resistance column. So that kind of gives us an idea that, hey, we're actually peaking above resistance at this point, at least a low level of resistance. Outside of that, a buy the dip opportunity, again, that would have been like 25, so I agree with that. Let's see, possibly 28, somewhere in like the $28 range. So I'm going to add in another point right around here-ish. We're going to keep it thin, and I'll zoom in just right now, actually. We'll make that a little bit thicker of a line. We'll make it like half speed. So 28 and 30, so I'm going to update that buy point to 28. 30. I want to see, why did I pick 30 again? Because it seems to be more so resistance. So I'm going to remove 30 as a buy point. The next buy point, though, when we get there, let's see. So I picked this blue line of 41 because it seems like it would dip to that level multiple times, roughly. I mean, really the bottoms are kind of closer to 40 exactly. So maybe let's pull this down to 40 roughly. Because again, if we zoom in, going back to like 2018 up to 2022, that seemed to be like the bottoms. We hit it multiple times. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can take that as 5, 6. And then the last time we touched that 0.7, it did kind of stall there for about a week. It acted as support and then ultimately crashed below. So I think what's going to happen here, now that we're in this spot between 30 and 40, we don't really have much activity between this $30 and $40 range. It's really like no man's land. If we go back in the past to like 2017, it it hung out in this range, right, of about $28 to $30. We could say $25 to $30. Then all of a sudden, not sure what happened, but something in like the third quarter or early fourth quarter of 2017, all of a sudden people felt this stock should be worth like $40. It ran up to $40 in a pretty quick period, like no declines. So in about a month, maybe a month and a half, all of a sudden it's in the upper 30s and then eventually cracks 40, and for the next like 4 or 5 years it just stayed above that point, trading sideways a lot of the time between 40 and 54. We could probably even bring this down a little bit to show maybe like 52 could be a better case. We could mark that in a variety of spots, but between like 40 and 50, it would like kind of trade between there, sometimes peak up to into the 60s, but ultimately it would stay mainly in that range. And then all of a sudden the crash, where it dropped from 40 all the way down to 25 again. So I think what might play out here, there's two scenarios at this point. I think now that it's gone above 30 once, pulled back right into the range, and now here we are again in another rally above. If this one stays above that $30 range for, say, another 2 or 3 weeks again, and it continues to kind of build up, I think it will then possibly just consolidate between 30 and 40. That's one option. And I say that again because there's really just no activity between $30 and $40. There's a little bit up here between 38 and 40, and a little bit here between like 37 and 35. We have just very small levels of activity, about I guess 2 months here and a month there. Whereas the other areas, I mean, there's like multiple bars. Like I'm talking 6 months or more where it hangs out in a range. So we might just hang out in this $30 to $40 range for maybe like 6 months, until the next best thing comes out. It might just hang out in there. Of course, there's potential where if it doesn't stay in that range for, say, a month, and when I say in that range, I mean above $30, there's the potential that it could pull right back into our $25 to $30 range. That's also an opportunity where we could just pick up more stocks. And then the third option is it'll just act like it's done in the past, where it's just going to rally right up to 40 and then hang out there in the $40 to $52 range again. Those are the three most likely options. I think at this point it's still early, and again, because I don't have the news aspect, the news element of this, it's kind of hard to weight which one has the highest probability. Based on just the trend from about October till today, I think it's too soon to make that call. And so, if anything, I'm gonna have to give this one the highest probability that it's just gonna pull back into that range of 25 to 30. Of course, I can be wrong. So if you've seen anything that would kind of go against this opinion, feel free to let me know. But that's the side I'm taking. It's too early to tell that this one's going to stay above that mark. If it does, then we're looking at which one's going to weigh out. And if it stays above, I'm more inclined to believe that this one's going to pop up to close to $40. And I'm basing that off of, I mean, I've just seen it in the past with like Meta and Netflix recently, and I'm sure there's others, but those are the ones that come to mind where there's like this big gap where it just needs to fill it, and it almost like just shoots through uh, areas of support or resistance and traces right back in to fill that gap. And so I'm kind of leaning towards that if it continues this upward trend. But for now, it's still too soon because, again, we have to realize this green bar, yeah, it's a nice move. But again, this only happened in about 2 days because today's Wednesday. Wednesday, the market hasn't opened yet. So this is really just 2 days worth of activity. This bar could easily pull back over the next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we'll just keep watching it. It's kind of too early to tell, but that's where I'm leaning towards at this point, that we could just see something that happened here in about early April where it peaked above, and now it's going to kind of pull back within that range, and maybe we'll just pick up some more. So to update the tracker, currently it's at 33. Yes. To buy this one, I'm looking for a spot close to 28 or less. So that was updated. Before it was 25, now it's like 28. Resistance is 30. And again, that's short term, about $30. It was hitting its head off there. You can see 1, 2, and technically that's like in the 29s, but 1, 2. Here's 3 where it snuck up above but pulled back. Here's 4. And then here's another moment where now it's actually above. We'll see if it pulls back. And if we go into the past further, that's more so how I chose this point, is in like 2016 and 2017. 30 was resistance for this one. Another spot of resistance for this, not much, I guess. Yeah, resistance, I guess. No, I don't really like that. Let me make this a little bit bigger for us. Another spot of resistance, let's see. 37, there's really just one. 40, there's like 1-2 month period where it acted as resistance. Scaling up a little bit further. What about 46? 46, we could make a case for 46. Kind of stalled out there once. That point is kind of close, so 2. Here's 3. Here's a stall out, 4. Here's 5. So we could say 46, I suppose. So we'll add that in. It's right around here-ish. In this area. 45, I guess, is the actual number. So we'll make that, and we'll make that a half line. So those are the points that I'm going to look at going forward. So resistance, we said 30. I added in 45, and then we still have 54. The primary resistance spot at this moment is 30. So that the fact that we're peaking above that, I just want to see how it plays out. If this one stays above that, we will update that to 45, if not 52. I have 54, but I forgot we downgraded that to 52. I'm going to update the date to today. The note, consolidating between 25 and 30. We'll keep that for a little bit longer. I'm just going to add in, it's been in that range since about September of 22. Another thing that we could mention, and we will mention, is that it's kind of forming a little uptrend here since March. Not sure if that's going to hold out when we circle back to this one, maybe in a month or so. Yeah, we might confirm that this uptrend is a real thing. But for now, if I had to rate this one, I'm going to rate it red, meaning it's at resistance. So I'm not interested in this one today. So just a quick recap on that before moving on to Air. We have Intel here, currently trading at 33. I'm looking for 28 to buy this one. So again, not too far off in terms of dollars. And that's kind of the nice thing about these small dollar stocks is that even if you're buying it above resistance, it's only $5 difference. So something to keep in mind there. But we do have resistance marked at $30, 45, and 52. 30 being our kind of the firm resistance point in this moment. In our note, financials came out at the end of April, so we're going to look at those at some point. And it's been consolidating between 25 and 30 since September. So the fact that it's peaking above, I'm just going to stay away from it at this point until, I get a little more insight. Moving on to Air. This was a new one that we added, so don't have too much background on this one, but we will dig into it more. But with Air, last time we looked was April 22nd. At that point, it was trading at $26. We had buy points marked at 13 and 24. I don't think I added this one, but again, I think I was just getting more familiar with it, and I intend to at some point. Resistance marked at 35, and our note was it met expectation but dips in market. So I'm guessing they must have just had financials be released and a note that it met expectations in terms of what investors were thinking it would do, but ultimately it ended up dipping in the market. So let's just take a look. Right off the bat, we noticed this uptrend, and it's at new highs, new all-time highs. So we should have took this one when we had it. Oh well. So we missed one here. We'll see if it pulls back over the next, I don't know, little bit of time. But yeah, it looks like we missed one here, and that's really just an element of it was new. We didn't know enough about it. So if you did, you would have got a good deal because we had a buy point marked at 24 and it was at 26. That would have been close enough for me to go into it. But so 422, that was right around here. So right around 27, again 26. So we must have looked at it on like a Thursday or something, and the week closed on Friday. But right around here, this red bar. Since then, it traded sideways, going under the uptrend that we had, this uptrend channel in purple, for about 3-ish weeks. It went sideways. Ultimately, it pulled back in mid-May, and then it kind of rallied up from there. From May till now, it's just been a nice upward trend. Got back into the range, and now it's even exceeding the range, or that channel, the purple channel that we drew in. So I would expect this one to pull back into the purple channel at least. But yeah, so this one should be pretty quick, again, because I just don't have much insight for it. And it's fairly new, I believe. So if we zoom back out, I mean, I guess it is kind of older. It's just not until recently has it kind of gathered this much support behind it. So we'll just stick with what we have for right now. So currently, it jumped from 26 up to, it's now at 42. So big move there. For me to buy this one, the points that I'm looking at, so it actually did hit 24 again. Very interesting. 24 kind of was a resistance point, I would say. But it actually bounced there. So for this week specifically, if I think this uptrend is going to continue forward, which it could, one spot that I'd be looking for this one at is $32. So I'll add 32. Another support. I don't really like 24. There's not, like, 24 was really meant to be resistance, not support. The fact that it dipped there, uh, I mean, I've seen that before in the past where, it hits a previous resistance point and acts it. Like, I've seen that where it kind of acts as both, but that was more so meant to be resistance than support. Um, but if I was looking for this one, uh, there's just not that much, in all honesty. We have this mark at 13. There's just not that much. I'm going to zoom back out to the max, see if there was something else. This stock's a lot older uh, than you would realize, going back to the 90s. Interested in catching up on this one. Yeah, I'm not. I'll really have to dig into this one to understand a little bit better. Uh, but for a buy point, I really don't know. I'm trying to just find any support. Um, I guess reality would be like what? Like $1. Seriously, $1. So let's just mark that for now, just to say that we're seeing it in this fashion down here. I mean, this is the last time where it had like real support levels, is the dollar range, and then all of a sudden in 2020 it rallied up to about $2-3, and then it shot off to into the 20s, and here we are again continuing a rally. um, yeah, I'm gonna need to dig into this one to understand why it deserves such a value. I mean, this has to be a huge multiple, and I'm not a fan of that, especially if I don't really even know what they're doing. Um, hmm. It's crazy, but um, I guess I can leave 13 in there. So 13 is this green line here. There seemed to find support there. We have an instance here. I realize it crashed down in like the first half of 2022, but eventually it rallied back up. Seemed to find some support there. Um, yeah, so I have 3 buy points. I have $1, which is that very bottom green line. We have $13 up here, which has some support behind it. And then 32 is right here. If that uptrend continues, that would be the bottom of the range. Resistance for this one, we had a 35, which was like previous all-time highs. This one now is again at all-time high. So uh, what we've seen with other stocks, when it reaches all-time highs, it can rally very hard. And so for this one, I realize this isn't, and we'll zoom in, this this really this wasn't all-time highs going to like 27, because again, if we go back into when this stock initially came out, uh, this stock was in $24 and then it crashed. So this point, even though it rallied like crazy in a very short period of time, we can't officially say that that was like all-time highs. So just making use of that information, because otherwise, if it was always down in this dollar range, we could say this one 24x'd in a very short window, and that's possible. So what we can say is this one went from about $24, rallied all the way up to 42. It almost 2x'd in let's see, about 6 months. A lot of dips along the way, but it doubled itself from its previous all-time high. So that's where we're at. We could continue to increase that multiple, reach the 50s, 60s. That's very possible. Uh, Again, but we've seen this channel. So for resistance for this one, if I had to pick one point for this week, it would be 41. And in terms of that buy point, the point that I'm most interested in would probably be $13. That seems to be fair. It's the middle. Ultimately, I'd want the $1, but $13 I guess makes the most sense. This note that we have meets expectation but dips in the market. I guess I'll keep that for now until I can make sense of it. But what I'm going to do is in an uptrend since, let's see, July of 22. And that's all I can do for now. Again, I'm going to mark this one red. I don't like its valuation right now. Maybe when I circle back into it, I'll change my mind. But for now, that's how I'm seeing it. Let me know your take on it. But we have air down here at the very bottom. Currently, it's at 42, and I can make this a little bit bigger for us. Currently, it's at 42. I have buy points marked at $1, $13, and $32. Very wide range. I made 13 bold, as that seems to be a more reasonable buy spot. I might not get there anytime soon, but this will probably change over time, especially as we get more familiar with this one. Resistance at $41. So we're slightly above that point. And then our note we have is it's been in an uptrend since July of 2022. So that's very promising. And also we noted that we must have saw somewhere that it met expectations for the investors, but it dipped in that market. That's kind of where that sideways consolidation around like that $20, $25 range happened. And then from there it's shot up to 42. So that pretty much that wraps this one up. We'll be getting back into news very shortly on all of these companies, and I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.